Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel. So in this week's Point of View, the Pleiadians wanted to help us make sense of some of the chaos we are seeing in the world around us right now. Over this past week, things have gotten a bit choppy. And so I, for one, always run straight to the Pleiadians to ask them what is happening and what suggestions do they have for us. So today they are going to help us get a little bit of perspective on some of the nuttiness we're seeing in the world around us. And more importantly, what we can do about it. So as y'all probably have noticed, over the past 3 or 4 weeks, we are really starting to see some chaos in what we lovingly refer to as the 3D world. Things have gotten a little messy, a little chaotic. So what the Pleiadians have been encouraging me to do and what they wanted to share with y'all in this week's update is the encouragement for all of us to put our focus on our breathing. And that is something that is not a usual mantra of the Pleiadians. So when they started to strongly encourage me to focus on my breathing as often as possible, I was kind of curious as to what was up. So according to the P's, why they are encouraging us to focus on our breathing, and in a second, I will tell you how they are encouraging us to try that. What happens is we automatically drop out of the mind. And when things get a little spicy in the world around us, it gets our ego mind really amped up. You may notice that you start to think obsessively about what is going on, start to get into that fear mode, get into a little bit of anger, and even just a feeling of just hopelessness or despair. Like, when is this going to get better? So our egos tend to get a little fired up when we see things going on in the outside world that look like they're getting worse. So according to the Pleiadians, when we take time during our day to focus on our breathing, what happens is we cut that circuit. So we drop out of the mind automatically. And as we do that, a really cool thing happens. When you drop out of the mind, you drop out of the matrix. So the heart is where we want to be living as often as possible. And one of the ways we can do this as we go about our daily life is just to take little short breaks, even just 30 seconds or a minute, and bring your attention to your breathing. This is something the P's have been having me do constantly throughout my day. They will constantly be reminding me. And what happens as you start to play with this is you start to get out of the mind more and more. And the mind is in its death grips right now because, of course, the mind is our 3D operating system. And so as we start to collectively raise our vibration, our minds, our egos get very threatened. And what happens is they start to spin out. And that is what drags us down into lower timelines. When we start to get into fear or anger or any of the other things that we are very tempted to slide into as we see what's happening in the world. So as you start to take little breaks during your day to place your focus on your breathing. And for me, what the P's have been encouraging me to do is to just take a few moments when I am sitting and drinking my coffee, or even as I'm just walking from room to room in my house, or maybe you're standing outside with your dog. Anytime you can take a few seconds or even a minute and place your attention fully on your breathing. And for me, the P's have been encouraging me to actually focus on the sound of my breath or how it feels as it's moving in and out of my body, so that you're fully putting yourself in your body in the present moment. And what that does, according to the Pleiadians, is it starts to break down our unconscious mental habits. So what happens as you start to play with this is you start to see your unconscious habits. All those things that you couldn't see, that you didn't know you were doing, they start to become crystal clear. And it doesn't take a long time for this to start working. Once the Pleiadians encouraged me to try this, the very first day I played around with this simple technique, I started to notice my unconscious thoughts, those ones I didn't know I was thinking. So one example that happened just after I tried this practice for a couple of hours is I started to realize that every time I look in a mirror, I criticize myself. And I had no idea I was doing that. And so just by virtue of bringing these unconscious thought patterns that, don't the experts say something like 98% of our thoughts are unconscious? It's something crazy like that. But once we start to make the unconscious conscious, it loses its control over us. So this practice is great because, first off, super simple. All you have to do is take a moment and focus on your breathing for as long as you can. And y'all, I can only do this for about 30 seconds before my mind steps in and distracts me again. So it's something that takes a little bit of practice, but the more you can do this during the day, according to the Pleiadians, the more time you spend in your heart, which is what they've been telling us to do for years now. But it's a little hard for us, especially when things get weird in the outside world, because we are so tempted to jump on those stories, start reacting to them. But instead, if you take a breath, start to focus on that breathing, when you feel yourself starting to react to something, what happens is you drop out of the mind. And the mind is the source of all of our trouble. So this is a great, really simple practice that is going to be very important for us as we kind of feel like the 3D world is coming apart at the seams. So a simple tool to help you take control back can be really helpful right now. And y'all, I have to tell you, this has been kind of a game changer for me over the past couple of weeks. And I've only been practicing it for about 2 weeks, but already I am noticing that my stress goes down so much the more I do this. I am noticing that I am seeing some of those hidden beliefs that are so tricky for us to identify. So as you get out of the mind, we start to open our communication with our higher self or with our guides, with our star family, but we have to be out of the mind to access that. So this simple little process of focusing on your breath, and this may be something you're familiar with if you do yoga. This is something my yoga teachers have taught me over the years, is the importance of going inward, because it brings you into the present moment. It drops you out of the matrix mind. It brings you into your physical body, which can be very challenging in these energies. I mean, who else is having trouble staying grounded in these energies? Oh my God, they have been crazy. But as you start to focus on your breathing as often as you can, you start to turn that around. And as you do that, you start to break some of those negative unconscious patterns you didn't know you were running. So that is something the P's are going to be talking to us a lot about, I'm guessing, in the coming weeks, is how to perfect this, how to do this more and more. Because the more we do this practice, the more we stay in a high vibration, so we don't get pulled into some of the craziness going on around us. Because that's what the mind wants to do, right? The mind likes to flirt with the drama, and this helps us to cut that off. So let me know in the comments below what you're doing in these energies to keep your vibration, and try this out. Let me know how this works for you. Let me know in the comments below how you're handling these energies right now. Y'all, I know they are challenging and they're just going to get stronger. So we need better and better tools to handle this. So let me know in the comments below how you're doing. And while you're down there, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. I'll see you soon. Bye.